So what eventually happened to the deal at Loud Records and the group around this time?
Well, Rifkin offered me a solo deal, and he offered Joe a solo deal. Joe didn't want to do it for whatever reason. I don't know what his reasoning was, but so I did a solo deal with Rifkin, and I did a lot of work with the Beatnuts. The Beatnuts came and produced like 3 or 4 songs for me. I was going through an identity crisis at that point. Like I was a hip hop dude, but a lot of my friends were gangbangers. You know what I'm saying? So I was like toting that thin line of like, I would never call myself a gang member, but I was definitely a gang affiliate. So, to them, it was like, oh, you a backpacker and stuff like that. So then, and that's when Coolio started popping, and it just, and the album had an identity crisis. Like some of it was backpacker stuff, and some of it was like West Coast G-Funk stuff. Like I just was kind of lost creatively, and I was on my own. I didn't really have a specific producer that I fell under. I was working with the Beatnuts. Broadway was still doing some stuff. I can't remember who else, but I was working with a lot of different producers, and it just, it wasn't gelling. And it was so funny. I'll never forget where, I turned in the album, and Matty C and Scott Free, that's when they were, because this was after Wu-Tang, and either right during Mobb Deep. Like Rifkin had basically packed up and moved to New York. He really wasn't fucking with his West Coast artists like that, because that's where, as he should. Wu-Tang came out, and I laugh about that all the time. Like I posted some of my stories one day, actually, like, imagine being a dope underground rapper, you got a cool little buzz, and then your label signs Wu-Tang Clan. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
It's over. Because, as it should be. Because they came through and just destroyed shit and made it difficult on artists on every label, but not to mention the artists on that same label. So, I did that solo album. It really wasn't gelling. I thought I had some kind of leverage with Rifkin, and I remember we had a conversation where he was like, yo, I don't feel comfortable putting this record out. And I was like, well, just drop me then. And he was like, okay. I was so stunned. I thought he was going to fight with me. Like, I was really trying to leverage him, and I didn't know he didn't care, because he had Wu-Tang and Mobb Deep, and so, and rightfully so. And it just, like I said, it wasn't in my heart. And I was kind of lost in the wilderness at that point of not really having an identity as an artist. Where Mad Kap, we kind of had an identity of who we were conceptually, things like that. And also, like I said, that's when I tell people all the time, man, when that Chronic album came out and Dr. Dre, it was over for the West Coast until Kendrick. The Licks had a cool little run. Exhibit had a run, but he was with Dre, and it was more gangster themed type music, you know what I'm saying? But for West Coast, just spitters, like, so many dope groups too, like Raz Kaz is still one of the dopest rappers ever. And even the dopest rappers will tell you that. But it's just that it just got sucked up in that gang culture, and people wanting only that G-Funk, or you had to be with Death Row, or, affiliated with, some of the gangster rap labels or things like that. So I just kind of, I got disheartened for a minute, but that's after we did the Beatnuts album, we put out a single called Questions, which was really dope. It was on Loud's Nutter Butter compilation, and that's kind of the direction they wanted me to go in. But again, like I said, creatively, I was just having kind of an identity crisis, and even personally, being drawn between being a rapper and being, immersed in gang culture. So it just, it just kind of, but for the right reason. The universe is undefeated. Like I like film just came natural to me. Like it took me I was an all right rapper with Mad Kap. I don't think I really got dope rapping until I started doing the color section. Like that's when I was, to me, at my peak in terms of a rapper. And, we had a lot of situations on the table with labels trying to sign us and things of that nature. But again, it was that Pac and Biggie era. Both of these dudes I had done shows with, they're the same age as me. And so when they both got murdered like that, it just made me like, do I want to do this? And then around that time I had my son, and I was like, I know as an artist, especially a successful artist, you out of town a year, 2 years at a time, 3 years at a time. And I'm like, I didn't want to do my son like that. I wanted to be in his life and be an active participant. So it was a lot, but color section was really dope too. We never reached the heights that Mad Kap did. We had the record Bomb MC. That was really big. Swan Tech showed us a lot of love on that. It was like on their top 10 countdown for like 6-7 months. And they looked at signing us. They had a label at the time, and DJP was at Virgin at the time. He was interested in signing us. LaFace was interested, but it's crazy. My friends tell me they were so mad at me, my music people, because I just walked away. I was like, I don't want to do it. Like I had a whole, like Rifkin had got me a publishing deal with BMG. That's what's really dope. I mean, he's still family to this day. When I walked away, I started producing. A couple things. I was kind of like an honorary A&R because I introduced the licks and Exhibit to Loud. Me and my partner Broadway, those were our people. Like they were rolling with us. And Rico told the story recently on Drink Champs of, we brought them up to the studio one day and Fade was there, who was the A&R at Loud. And that's how they kind of got with Loud. And then Exhibit was kind of like the same thing. So Steve started having me as like a independent A&R. Like I was, trying to bring him other acts and things like that. And at the same time, he got me a publishing deal at BMG for my producing. I started producing, so I was able to build my own whole studio. And like I told you, this one I was producing Peace, and that's when we did all the color section records, was at the studio in Altadena. We called it the Fever, after the Fever in New York. So yeah, it just, man, a lot of great memories, man. I still love music. I still once in a while be like, I'm gonna buy a drum machine. I think I still got it in the beats. I don't know about rapping. I'm a little, up there in years to try to, putting out mixtapes.
Right.
I don't think people be too receptive.
So what eventually happened to the color section, and where did you find yourself at that point?
Like I said, I completely walked away from music.
We're talking
like
about 90.
And that's how I am though. I just
98.
woke up one day. Yeah, like 98.
Mm-hmm.
I just woke up one day. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. My heart wasn't in it. It turned into something else. You know what I'm saying? And again, it's just like, even color section, like we started leaning towards doing more gangster rap influence type music with them kind of themes and stuff like that. And, I halfway justified it because those was all my friends. Like we were the first like underground hip hop group that used to be bringing gangbangers into Hollywood. Like that wasn't fashionable then. And it was always weird. Like we got these big colorful hats and all this on, but then here come the gangsters with us. It was, it was a weird combination of things. So I woke up one day and just didn't love it anymore. I didn't feel it, and like I said, I wanted to be around my son. And I want to say I'd already started writing My Baby's Daddy. Like, I think I'd start writing that script around the end of me doing music. I think I'd started, venturing into writing screenplays and stuff like that. And really Cube influenced me, Cube and DJ Pooh, because I know Pooh as well. And when they did Fridays and Pooh wrote Fridays, I was like, I never, coming from the hood, you never know that's even a possibility. Like, you can make movies. Like, music's one thing. We were doing music, but especially in that era, there wasn't a whole bunch of, like there is now, there wasn't a whole litany of Black filmmakers and Black screenwriters. Like it was Spike Lee, Robert Townsend, it was a handful of them. So, right. That opened my eyes to that arena, and it was something that I felt would keep me more grounded and around my kid, and, things of that nature. So yeah, right then is when I started transitioning more so into film. Like I said, like 98.
Yeah. When did things start to materialize, and this is something you knew that you wanted to pursue as a career?
It's so crazy. That's how I knew. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. The things with my music kind of materialized fairly quickly too. Like, we were signed to Rifkin when I was like 19. So, but with film, it just came easy. Like I wrote the script, and through a partner of mine, Freeze Love, he's actually on the Mad Kap album. I don't know if you remember the interlude Dickie's Emporium.
Yeah.
Freeze went on to be on Def Comedy Jam and all this kind of stuff. He started opening up for Eddie Griffin. So, he started, like, he would bring Eddie around us. Like, Eddie was at our listening party, the Mad Kap listening party. And so when I wrote the script, I was like, Eddie was the only person I knew. I was like, let me go show this to Eddie. And so, I went and met with Eddie a few times. And literally, this is when Eddie was hot as fish grease. This is double take days and all that kind of stuff. And I would go up there and it'd be, 10 writers sitting around him. Everybody got an idea. Like, I was the only one that had a script. And he was so blown away. Especially then, I had, like, braids and I was halfway hood, halfway trying to be in Hollywood. Like I was just a different person. So he just was like, he was so stunned that I actually had a script that he could open up and read and look at it. And it just happened. He loved it. Like you said, this was like 98, and we went out and started taking pitch meetings to different production companies and things like that. And then I want to say it was 99 when it got picked up with Immortal. Happy Walters, who discovered Cypress Hill and House of Pain and all that. He started transitioning to producing films, and we got it set up at Miramax, and it was off to the races. And then I just loved it, and I made a lot more money. I was like, man, the money I made in rap was nothing compared to what I made just writing this one script. And the first script I ever wrote in my life, like that's unheard of in Hollywood. Anyone will tell you. Like even the execs at Miramax used to be like, so how many other scripts you got? Where'd you go to film school? And I was like, I didn't. I just wrote this script and Eddie loved it. And now I'm on set looking at you. And they just, they didn't understand it. But that's how I knew off top, it was something I was meant to do. Just like Biggie used to tell the stories of like he didn't even ever want to be a rapper. He just started rapping, and next thing you know, he's on Bad Boy, and it just, you know, when you're prolific at something, it doesn't. And believe me, a tremendous amount of effort got put in after that. Like that was lightweight. The hard work came later. You know what I mean? Once I understood where I wanted to position myself in the game, then a lot of the hard work came in, because that was more so like a work for hire. We buy your script. We bring in 2 white boys to rewrite it and cornball it out. And, you know, I'm a hip hop dude, so I just wasn't into that. I'm like, wait, what? What's going on? Like, no, this is my script. Who are these guys? Like, it just was it was a learning process. So, you know, just, but it happened quickly, to be honest with you. Like, and that's how I knew I was meant to do it. Like, I didn't write 5, 6 scripts, and I wasn't beating the pavement for years. You know what I'm saying? It just was literally like, I believe 99 is when it got first set up at Immortal. And then it was in development for like a year and some change at Miramax, and then we went into production.
Wow. What kind of feedback did you get when that came out?
I hate it. I hate that movie. I still hate it. Like it's you know, the original script I wrote was Fridays, but dealing with relationships. It was raw. It was, you know, people getting took to court, fights at the county office, like the stuff that me and my friends were experiencing, because that's where that motivation came from. Like, you know, me and my son's mother started having our conflict, and I had like 2 or 3 buddies Broadway, and I forget who else. We all freeze. Everybody started having kids around the same time, and everybody was going through their own baby mama drama, as they call it now. And I just was one day like, man, this would be a dope movie. And there was a cat named Ray and Dina, that he's the only person I knew that wrote screenplays at the time, and I took it to him. And this is the same advice I give people to this day, because all the time people tell me they got an idea, they want me to write it. I'm like, I can't write that. That's your idea. And that's what he told me. He's like, I can't write it, but here goes a couple books that'll show you how to write. And my mom gave me her work computer. I didn't even have the software. Like, I'm sitting there using Microsoft Word, moving things around to make it into the right format. So, you know, it's the same advice I give screenwriters now, or aspiring screenwriters. I'm like, you got to write it, man. I can't, you know, you got an idea, so do I. Like, I got 20 ideas and 30 scripts. Like, I can't sit down and write your idea for you. So it just, but yeah, I mean, it did well. It performed. I made a lot of money off of it, but it wasn't about the money to me, because I'm an artist, you know, dating back to me doing hip hop, you know, and that me and a partner of mine was talking today that was also, you know, a rapper back in the day that does films now, Man Robinson. What up, the man? And I was just talking to him, you know, I've told people I still had that swag of a rapper. Like, you know, it's like, nah, fuck you. This is my vision. Like, I don't care how much you pay me. I'm not going to just be happy with, especially when you put my name on it and it comes out and you got rapping babies and shit in it. Like, I can't stand that film, but it opened doors for me, and it gave me a calling card, and it was successful. I mean, we made money. I still get residual checks from that film to this day. So, you know, it kicked down the doors. I'm thankful for it. I hated it creatively, but that's what inspired me to direct. And I just, you know, my initial thing was I want to protect my scripts from now on. I'm like, I'm never letting anybody put another film out that says Coke Daniels on it that ain't Coke Daniels film. And that's good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not saying all my films are great, but they're mine, top to bottom. I write them, I direct them, I produce them, I raise the money, I set up distribution. Like, my tentacles is in every aspect of, you know, the films that I do, from Baby's Daddy on. Baby's Daddy, and I remember telling the executives one time, I forgot where it was at, but I just essentially told them, like, anything people like in the movie is what I did. The stuff that they hate is the stuff those guys you brought in did. Because, again, they brought these 2 white dudes in that don't know nothing about Black culture, Black relationships. Like, I really wanted to create, again, a Fridays, but for relationships. It was a romantic comedy, but like a raw, edgy romantic comedy. And if I don't know if you've ever seen, but that's what I did with Who Made the Potato Salad, which a lot of people consider one of my best movies. It was a ratchet romantic comedy. And that's what Baby's Daddy was initially, but they just, and we took it to Miramax, who was doing Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. And that's because we had a bidding war for the film. And we actually chose Miramax because we felt, me and Eddie felt like they were going to let us do our thing. Like, they were going to let it be raw and uncut. And, you know, for us, for the culture, like that if we'd have done that movie right, it would have been huge. And it's still, you know, a lot of people still love it. It still plays on TV. But if they'd have let me and Eddie do what we was trying to do with it, it would have been classic.
Right.
So,
what kind of adjustments did you make going into Who Made the Potato Salad? Anything you changed up? Anything you learned going into that one?
Well, I didn't direct Baby's Daddy. So after that, I was like, I'm not doing any more films unless, and that's when the hard work came in, because I just set a mandate for myself of like, I'm not doing any other films that they won't let me direct, or unless Spike Lee's directing it, or if you pull in some of these directors that I respect and understand the culture, then that's one thing. But you know, and no disrespect to the director of Potato Salad. I mean, Baby's Daddy. Her name is Cheryl Dunye. She's a really dope director. It just, you know, it wasn't her type of material. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure if you ever talk to her, she would tell you that. So no disrespect to her at all. But I told myself I'm not doing another film unless I'm directing it. And I'll never forget, I was on the set of Miramax. It was dope though. Like Tiny Lister, rest in peace. That was my big homie. John Amos, Eddie Griffin. All these people always told me, they're like, you got too strong of a voice to be a writer. You got to direct. And I didn't know what directing was. I didn't know what writing was. Like I had written one script and I'm sitting here on set of a $10 million film in Toronto for 4 months. You know what I'm saying? Like it just was another one of them situations, almost like Mad Kap, where just I got thrust into something and, you know, I got thrown into a knife fight and I had to grab a knife and just start swinging. So, but, you know, like I said, them dudes really inspired me. They were like, you need to direct. And again, I didn't know anything about directing. And one of the execs, Jeremy Kramer at Miramax, he's the one that told me, like, you know, go out, hustle up. Because I'm on the set of Baby's Daddy being annoying as hell. Now that I look back, it was a problem. I was ridiculous. I was utterly ridiculous, where I was like, they were fighting with the director like all studios do. And I'm telling them, like, just fire her, send her home. I'll finish the film. I'll direct it. Didn't know a damn thing. And I'm so happy they didn't do that, because my career probably would have ended right there, because I just made a mess of life. But but that inspired me. And then I started doing research and being like, oh, Quentin Tarantino did Reservoir Dogs for 100,000. Oh, Robert Rodriguez did El Mariachi for 20,000. Spike did Do the Right Thing with 100,000. I was like, okay, I could figure out how to raise that kind of money, or you know, talk to some people and figure it out. And ironically enough, Broadway, who was my music producer, he introduced me to a studio owner named Don Randalls that owned Lacey Street Studios. And you know, because Baby's Daddy put a lot of heat on me. I had, like, they were trying to hire me to rewrite other people's scripts, and you know, they wanted to put me in the studio system, and I didn't want to be a part of that. Like that whole development process on Baby's Daddy just turned me off so bad. I was like, I'll never do this again. Like I can't. So, but yeah, so when I went into Potato Salad, they just let me go. They gave me free reign. They put up, you know, I think it was a few $100,000 budget. It was nothing, you know what I'm saying? But I had free reign, and I didn't know what I was doing. Like I was getting into it. Me and Jaleel White, and we partners to this day, but he was so frustrated with me because I didn't know what I was doing. Like the DP, the cinematographer, who's, if those that don't know, is in charge of the camera and the shooting of the film. He first day, he's like, where you want me to put the camera? I said, I don't know, where you want to put it. Like I was an idiot, but I was my idiot, and that was the thing, and it was my film, and I got to do my thing, like just unadulterated. They didn't, you know, they took me to the studio, and they had these pre-existing locations, and they were like, you know, write something based on these locations. So I just came up with Who Made the Potato Salad, and you know, the rest was history. I was off to the races after that. Like I had gotten a taste, and you know, and ironically enough, like Potato Salad was supposed to be really big. Like Fox was gonna put it on like 1,500 screens. I remember at the time Jeff Clanagan worked at Fox, and he called me and was like, "Oh, congratulations!" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Man, they're about to wide release your film and this and that." And the cold part about it is there was a black executive at Fox that stepped in and shut it down because she said we used the N-word too much and there was too much cussing, and she was Christian and blah, 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 and all that type of thing. So, you know, it just got, and that was the first of many almost moments for me. Like I've had a lot of almost moments. And so, but yeah, it was my film, you know, right, wrong, or indifferent. They let me do my thing. And I thank them for that, because it just, and I found my voice as a filmmaker, where I understood that my voice is just, it's raw, it's intelligent, it's sexy, it's uncut, you know, it's all the above. And I just, you know, it was a great moment. That was another one of them great moments in time. And even though it never got the wide release that everybody felt it deserved, it still got a lot of critical acclaim, and you know, just kept the needle moving for me. That's what I tell people all the time, man. Just keep putting points on the board, no matter what you're doing, especially as it relates to art. Like, yeah, some people probably seen Potato Sounds like that shit is horrible, but then some off season was like, oh, it's amazing. Like, art is subjective. Like any great film you can name, there's 20 people that are going to tell you that film is trash. You know what I'm saying? Like, these young boys now be like, Tupac is garbage. Like, you know, it's subjective, and I don't argue with them, because it's, you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So, but yeah, I changed in the sense of, like, I just was uncompromising. I wasn't going to let anybody I trust me ultimately. And if I'm, you know, I'm the quarterback and I'm gonna take either all the slander or all the glory, and I'm good with that either way. Like I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? Like because the thing is I take the chance. You know, respect the gladiator in the ring, not the spectator in the stand. So
Right.
I'm gonna be the gladiator in the ring every time with the blood on my face and stabbed up and everything. But you know, that's what I choose.
Shortly after that, you released Gangsta Rap Documentary. What was that all about?
That was my homage to my hip hop days. That was me satiring gangster rap, and also that's what all of my films have a little tinge of social commentary in them. You know what I'm saying? Even Potato Salad, Baby's Daddy. You know, I wrote this really dope monologue for John Amos at the end where he's talking about black fathers and single fathers and things like that. And you know, Potato Salad. Cliff Powell was an ex Black Panther, and he gives the whole speech about how the government broke down the Panthers, and like I always you know, slip it in there. So gangster rap was when I kind of went full on, let me address an issue and also, you know, do my homage to hip hop, you know what I'm saying? And to films like Spinal Tap, you know, like mockumentary type films and The Best in Show. Like I love films like that. So I was just like, you know, let me do that. And again, it was a situation where I met some cats and they like, look, we got $100,000. Like, you got something you can shoot for 100,000. And I knew mockumentary would be easy to produce like that because it's you know, it's more forgiving. You don't have to light it as well. You could use, at the time they were called prosumer cameras, where they weren't really film cameras. They were more so like camcorders that we use to shoot it. And yeah, that was my homage to hip hop, man, and to Compton and to all the gangsters I grew up around and the gangster rappers like again my big homie King T and that whole genre of hip hop. CB4, you know, that was my CB4. So it was that type of thing where I wanted to do something that mixed my love for music and my love for film together. And my boy Che, who was in color section with me, Che Ski, he wrote most of the music, you know, which is crazy. Over the years, some of them songs have got millions and millions and millions of hits. So yeah, it just, you know, again, when you don't have resources, you get resourceful. And so many of my films have happened like that, where somebody's like, look, I got X amount of dollars. What can you do with that? And then I have to back my way into that budget and get creative and figure out something that could be shot within those parameters.
Right.